You can do it, Barry. You can do it, Barry. Oh, this is Mr. Hornby 3 that says the Mr. Hornby 3 show. And that is a line from one of Chuck Norris's movies, the Sidekick movies, which I think, the Sidekick movie, which I think is a good movie. I know other people don't like it. Stars Jonathan Brandis. He's a big Chuck Norris fan. And all you ever want to do is meet Chuck Norris. And he finally gets to meet him at the end of the movie. And the reason why I'm talking about this movie is because I want to say rest in peace to Chuck Norris. He passed away, Friday? He just passed away this past Friday, so I wanted to say rest in peace to Chuck Norris. That's why I called it one of the lines from his movie, Sidekicks, which I think is a movie that I think people just disrespect way too much. Speaking of disrespect, we are going to talk about the fucking IWC. Fuck the fucking IWC. And I'm not just talking about the ones that, do videos on wrestling stuff. But I'm talking about the people that, do wrestling game reviews, toy reviews, yeah. So those are the ones I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the complete IWC that talks about, although the current IWC really does ruin a lot of current wrestling because they're a bunch of freaking keyboard heroes. And speaking of keyboard heroes, I mean, look how stupid, look how the freaking IWC pissed off Ricochet. So much so that the doofus freaking went out there and disrespected some lady with MS. Which I'm surprised he didn't get fired for. I think he deserved to be fired for that. But, you know what? Yeah, the IWC just ruins everything to do with current wrestling. That's why I do not consider myself a part of the IWC. Because I do other things. I talk about, video games, toys, action figures. Not just wrestling toys. Not just video games. Not just wrestling games and that. But I talk about different toys. I talk about movies. I talk about TV shows. I talk about all this other stuff. So, yeah, yeah, and I'm not saying it was right for Ricochet to do what he did because I just called him a freaking doofus for what he did. You don't sit there and post on somebody's freaking story that, I'm glad you got MS. Yeah, well, you know what? Whenever you get it, somebody's probably going to say that to you. And you ain't going to like it when they say it. But anyway, yeah, the IWC, oh boy. I don't know why these morons think they know everything to know about wrestling. Because, IWC is the biggest bunch of hypocrites I've ever seen ever in my life. And, they sit there and they bash, any company that's not WWE just because they're freaking mindless WWE sheep sometimes. Or because, WWE signed back someone like CM Punk. And then everybody's like, oh, let's hate AEW now because they don't got Punk no more, so now we can hate them. I don't know. But, there's not many IWC people I really follow. I think, the Solemn Monster sounds off and I watch freaking Wrestling with Regret with his classic reviews. And, sometimes I'll watch Stunned by Wrestling and that. But, a lot of IWC I just can't stand because all they do is they talk behind a keyboard or they'll freaking sit there and, say something about something and then, they'll totally, with John Cena. When Cena was in his prime and he was the top guy at the time, everybody hated Cena. Then, because now he's got legendary status, he went away for a bit, comes back, and everybody loves Cena. And you know what? I'm never going to like Cena. That's why when I did the video, for John Cena's last match, I freaking put his greatest moments, and I put one of his greatest moments was tapping out the Gunther on Saturday Night Main Event for his last show. So, yeah. That shows how much I'm part of IWC, because if I was part of IWC, Oh, Cena's so great. I love Cena, you know. My opinion has not changed on Cena. I'm glad he's retired. I don't have to see him on wrestling TV no more. You know, these same people also hated Roman Reigns because WWE force-feeded him. Roman Reigns as a babyface. But then when he went heel, you know, they still kind of force-feeded him, but, you know, at least he had better character than what he had as a face. When he's sitting there saying stupid stuff like Zucker and Zuccotash, I mean, come on now. Now, with the Tribal Chief stuff, if it hadn't been for that, people probably wouldn't have liked him, but yeah. So they still force-fed Roman, but they did it as a heel because he had a cooler character than what he had when he was freaking playing the babyface. So, yeah. Anyway. Now, also, you know, I love how these people bash AEW for certain things, but then they don't bash WWE for it. I mean, sometimes it's vice versa, too. Sometimes people will bash WWE for something, but then they won't bash AEW for it. You know. And, you know, something I gotta say, I do agree with some people that talk about how long their freaking pay-per-views are. If you're gonna freaking make pay-per-views that long, just keep them on Saturdays. Don't keep putting them on a Sunday, because people gotta go back to work on a Monday. Or, you know, people start their new routine and working out on a Monday. You know, don't sit there and freaking, you know, make people stay up super late, especially when you're getting more pay-per-views throughout the year. I mean, what now? You have Revolution. Then you got Dynasty coming up in about less than a month. Then you got freaking Double or Nothing. And then you have one in June, one in July, one in August, one in September, one in October, one in November, one in December. Look at that. What, the only month they don't have is freaking, what, January and February for pay-per-views? Yeah, those are, so yeah, if you got more pay-per-view revenue, you don't need to put a bunch of matches on one freaking pay-per-view. And that's not talking about the IWC. That's just ranting about freaking AEW pay-per-views in general. Like, that's one reason why I don't buy AEW pay-per-views no more. Because, you know, on a Sunday, you're up super late. On Saturday, yeah, well, plus money issues too. But you know what? Everybody has money issues. So, yeah. Money issues and the freaking fact that the pay-per-views are so super freaking long. Yeah. Anyway, why couldn't they make it free when they put it on HBO Max? The pay-per-view should be free. You know, that's what they did with the WWE Network. That's what they did with Peacock. But anyway, getting off track with that. But you know what? Hey, it is what it is. Their pay-per-views are great, but they're way too long. And then they put matches on there that shouldn't even be on there. Like the gay kid Darby Allin and that stuff could have been off that show. But yeah. Also, shaving time on some of the matches will be fine. And the match will probably still turn out good. But I don't know. Anyway. So let's get to the main reason why I'm doing this freaking video talking about the IWC. And it's got to do with people like Kenny Baum, who I was a fan of his show. But then, you know, when he started talking about 2K26, and then he started talking about the DLC packs, and then he started talking about how, you know, who cares? Nobody cares about the freaking demolition being in the game, or nobody cares about the natural disasters being in the freaking game. Why don't you shut the hell up, first of all? Earthquake was a big part of the WWF in the 80s and the 90s. Until he went to WCW. Typhoon, not so much. You know, Typhoon's been here and there and everywhere throughout the 80s and 90s. Not so much. But Demolition, you know, when people didn't watch NWA, I know Kenny Baum said, oh, I became a fan in the Attitude Era and blah, blah, blah. Everybody became a fan in the Attitude Era. But you're going to disrespect Demolition? And you're going to disrespect freaking the natural disasters? And everything too, he was also one of the ones that was complaining about Undertaker 90 and 2K25. Undertaker from 1990. And now because of people like him, we ain't getting Undertaker 1990 and 2K26. It's freaking annoying. You know, if you're a big Undertaker fan, You don't complain about any version of Undertaker in the game. He's allegedly a big Undertaker fan. A big Undertaker fan will not bitch. Yes, they could have de-aged him a little bit better. Yes, they could have done some other things to make Undertaker 1990 look better. But to bitch and complain about the frickin' 1990 Undertaker, and you're supposed to be an Undertaker fan, you would want this version in the game. But now we're not getting it because of people like him complaining about it. Like, you know, how many people wanted to see Undertaker from 1990? Now, I know he was at his peak pretty much in the Attitude Era, because that's when Undertaker was at his peak. Well, people will say Ruthless Aggression when he was at his peak. But I feel like he was at his peak in the Attitude Era. Yeah, he was a little bit better in Ruthless Aggression Era too. But you also got to think, he had matches like, I don't know, Brock Lesnar and him at WrestleMania. Yeah. Him and Roman Reigns, one of the most boring matches ever in WrestleMania history. So I'd say peak Undertaker was the Attitude Era. That was peak Undertaker. That was peak Undertaker. Not freaking Ruthless Aggression like so many people want to say. Well, let's not forget, Undertaker had a few stinkers as well during the Ruthless Aggression run. Although people could say the same thing about his Attitude Era run. But you know what? I think Undertaker was at his peak in the Attitude Era. Character-wise, character-wise, storyline-wise, I think Undertaker was peak at in the Attitude Era. Although I do like him from the earlier days when he was first there from 90 all the way up to 96. You know, the rivalry he had with Mankind was awesome and legendary. Especially when he frickin' threw Mankind off the cell in 98. But, you know, yeah, so, I don't know. So, thank you, people like Kenny Baum, for getting Undertaker 1990 taken out of WWE 2K26. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate that. I mean, hell. You know, only that, they've gotten other legends taken out. I've heard so many people complain. This is why I say WWE should make 2 different games each year. You know, 2K should make 2 different WWE games each year. A game for the current people who like the current crap. You know, and then a game for the people who like the legendary stuff. I don't know how many legends they got under contract to do a full legend game, but I mean, come on now. I'm sure they got more than enough legends under contract to get a full freaking game out of it and do a story mode and all that stuff. I mean, even freaking current wrestlers like Randy Orton and that, you could throw in that game too. He's kind of become a legend. But, you know, yeah. You know, all these people that do these game reviews and then let's not even get started on everybody who bashed AEW Fight Forever. I mean, come on now. AEW Fight Forever, I think it's a better game than people give it credit for. Yes, is it bare bones? Yes. Yes, do they need community creation? Yes. But you know what? When you play the game, you have fun with it. And they got some pretty fun matches, like the freaking exploding barbed wire match and all that stuff. You know, you do street fights, you can do the freaking Stampede Stadium match if you really want to do that match. And a bunch of other stuff. Now, yes, could they made a better story mode? Yes, but let's not forget, the early days of WWE games weren't always great on story modes either. Especially, like, I mean, come on now. I just came off playing SmackDown Shut Your Mouth. And the story only goes to one freaking pay-per-view where you fight 2 guys and then you get the title shot you're supposed to get. And that's about it. It took them a while to find their footing. I think, what was it? SmackDown Shut Your Mouth is one, or SmackDown Here Comes the Pain is one. You were able to freaking get a good story mode out of a WWE game. You know, because, yeah. I think after just bringing it was Shut Your Mouth. Yeah. But, you know. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, this was AEW's first game. Which I think in a couple years they should come back and try to fix. You know, they should come back and try to make a better freaking game. Yeah. in a couple years. I'm pretty sure they're waiting to see what their situation is now that freaking Paramount owns, Warner Brothers, Discovery, and all that stuff. And honestly, I gotta say, if they do get another deal to stay on those networks, then you need to focus on putting out another game. Also, with, well, I'll talk about that in a minute, 'cause I'll get the toys here in a sec. But, I mean, it was their first attempt at a game. It wasn't a bad game. But everyone's like, oh, it's garbage, blah, blah, let's not play this game. Fuck this game, it sucks. It's as bad as TNA's game. TNA's game was horrible. I know, I played it on PlayStation 2. That game was freaking horrible. Then again, it was TNA's first attempt at a game, too. And they went with a company that was about to go out of business in a couple months anyway. But, yeah, that's besides the point. I think AEW should give it another shot with the game. I thought for what they made with the game, I thought it was a little bit better than people gave it credit for. So, but the IWC bitched and complained about it. Oh, it's a bad game. Oh, it ain't got a good story mode. Oh, we need custom community creations and all that stuff. It's got to be as good as the WWE game. No, it don't. As long as it's fun, like I said, it reminded me of that freaking Legends of WrestleMania. No, not Legends of WrestleMania. WWE All-Stars game. That game was fun. Legends of WrestleMania sucked, but WWE All-Stars was a fun game. And you know what? That's what AEW was doing. They were trying to make it a fun game, but you cut out some other stuff that could make it even funner with a good story mode, with a good freaking community creation thing where you can, like if you want to try to put AEW wrestlers against WWE wrestlers, you can go right ahead. I've seen people do that before with the WWE games. So, I don't know. But people bitched and moaned about it, said it was terrible, said it was garbage, said they should never make another game, blah, 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 blah. But you know what? That's the internet wrestling community for you. Whether you're doing video game reviews, whether you're doing freaking regular reviews on wrestling shows and all that stuff, and somebody's people say, oh, we're just trying to criticize them just to, get them to improve. Yeah, well, you know what? Criticize WWE because they have really been bad lately. And I don't hear them criticize the WWE, but AEW, boy, they get criticized. TNA, when they were the second company, they got criticized. WCW. And everything, too, with a lot of internet wrestling communities. Every freaking time they talk about WCW, they bring up all the bad stuff WCW did. They never talk about all the good stuff. It's like, well, why are you talking about just the bad stuff? Is that... No, I don't know. Talk about the good stuff WCW did. And they just didn't freaking do NWO, and that was it, and that was the only good thing they ever did. They did other good things throughout the years. Not a lot, but, I see everybody talk about how bad, all the bad stuff they do, and I never see them, shining a light on the good stuff, I mean, come on now. If it wasn't for WCW, would the Big Show even became a big superstar? Probably not. I don't know. But, yeah. Yes, WCW did a lot of bad things. But they also did some good things. But people just like to remember the bad things. Like, the greatest championship ever made in the world of wrestling, the big gold WCW championship, was created by them. But, nobody gives people praise for that. And if it wasn't for the NWO thing, then we wouldn't have got the Attitude Era in WWE. But you know what? No, it is what it is. Anyway, let's get into toys, And the reason why, I'm going to talk about toys, and then that'll probably be it for this video. But, I'll be honest with you. Another thing I hate about the internet wrestling community is these morons will praise the WWE figures all the frickin' time. And look, a lot of WWE figures are really good. But, you've also had some inconsistent figures since they changed their factory to Vietnam. And you also got to talk about the frickin' belts. I hear, because, boy, let me talk about the freaking wrestling figure belts, and I've talked about how many times there's been issues with belts that have been made by Mattel that, they're either too big, they're too small, they don't freaking have the right details, and all that stuff. I think I'm one of the few that comes out and criticizes Mattel for that. Not many other people do. With them, it's like, oh, it's good, it's okay. Even when they give bad reviews, let's think like someone like My Damn Toys or something. He's honest with his reviews, with some of his reviews of WWE figures and that. That's why I like his channel the most. The rest of the people that are like, oh, yeah, they made a mistake, but you know what? It's okay. And you keep giving them your money for making mistakes. But AEW, no, they too. Everybody complains about the AEW figures. And like, oh, they don't look great aesthetically. Or, the heights are inconsistent on some of the figures and blah, 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 blah. They made this belt too big. They made this belt too small. They didn't make enough of this belt. Whatever. And I think AEW really needs to stay in the figure market. For years and years, everybody talks about how, it's kind of like with how all the internet wrestling community talk about how, AEW's about to die. AEW's about to die. They did that with TNA for years and years and years and years and years. Now I see these stupid pricks on there nowadays praising TNA just because they're partners, just because they're buddy with WWE now. So now now TNA is good. I hate to say it, but there has not been one show that I've watched on AMC from TNA that have really made me really enjoy TNA the way it used to be. Doesn't feel like old school TNA at all, but you know what? I'm one person, I got opinion, but other people have opinions too. But, everybody wants to talk about the demise of AEW. Everybody wants to talk about the demise of the AEW figures. Like, they ain't making money, they're just hanging on the pegs. Yeah. One of the reasons why they hang on the pegs is because people are lazy these days and they'll buy these figures off of the freaking websites and that, like Ringside or Amazon or freaking eBay or something like that. Or Mercari or something like that. And that's why they hang on the pegs. Because people buy them from Ringside early. And then they're freaking like, oh, we don't need them now. And I remember when the AEW figures first came out. A lot of them were hard to find. Again, like I said, with the internet wrestling community, they bash anything AEW does. But they talk about how the pins on the freaking AEW figures suck. They talk about how, they want pinless AEW figures. Oh, Jazzware's gonna end the license because the AEW figures ain't selling well for them. It's the freaking other stuff that Jazzware sells. What else from Jazzware really sells? What, plushies? No. I think Jazzware does pretty decent with the freaking AEW figures. Yes. Could they switch the formulas? Yeah, they could. Could they make a new model for AEW figures? Yeah, they could. But, right now, what they're doing with AEW figures, I think the AEW figures are alright. And people who bitch about the pinless stuff, look what's been going on with the freaking WWE figures ever since they've switched those to pinless. And it's not the arms or nothing like that that's the issue. It's always the freaking legs. The pinless legs are so stiff, and it's hard to move things and give them articulation and all that stuff for those figures. But yet people still like, they should switch to, and now these people are bitching about the freaking pinless legs, or bitching about the pinless arms. I don't hear many people bitch about the pinless arms, but I do hear them bitch about the pinless. It's kind of like with people with the freaking McFarlane Mortal Kombat figures. They get on the internet, they give it a bad reviewer, they say they're okay, and then and then you can barely find Mortal Kombat figures in stores anywhere from McFarlane Toys. Trust me, I know. The only one I've found is Raiden. But when they first came out, I seen them at GameStop last year when they first came out. Didn't see him much after that. So, yeah. And, you know, Target had them. They had Katana. They had freaking Raiden, Liu Kang, Reptile. I bought Reptile. And my son's got Raiden. But, like, the main characters like Sub-Zero and that really disappeared quickly. I mean, Raiden's the main character. Yeah. But, you know, I think a lot of people are just tired of Raiden from the freaking... the last couple of games and how he's just, you know... made so many bad mistakes in the NRS universe. If you've played the games, you know. What all Raiden has done to really screw up the NRS universe for the freaking Mortal Kombat games. I mean, come on now. He killed Liu Kang in 9. And then, you know, I don't know. Just crazy. But anyway, I'll get into Mortal Kombat stuff in Mortal Kombat month. So, yeah. Let's get back to this. So, yeah, you know, I'm just sick of people disrespecting the AEW figures and they just disrespect AEW in general. And it's mostly the IWC. The people that do reviews of figures, the people that freaking do, you know, reviews of any AEW show or whatever, they just freaking, whatever the AEW does, they're just going to hate it. I do agree, though, the pay-per-views are way too long. Especially now that you got more in a year. You don't need long pay-per-views when you got more in a year. Anyway, and then once they get a January, February pay-per-view, they don't need to have them that long. And if you're going to do that, then at least freaking put them on Saturday. Because at least people don't got to work the next day. Or go to the gym the next day. Or freaking, you know, go on vacation the next day. Yeah. WWE's kind of figured it out. Although... what, they only give you like 4 matches with WWE pay-per-views now? Yeah, less matches, yeah, you know, and people's complaining about that too. Hey, that's fine and dandy with me. I mean, yeah, if a freaking pay-per-view should, if you're going to pay a lot of money for pay-per-view, you should get more matches than just 4 matches, but yeah. You know, we shouldn't get 1,000 matches either. 1,000 matches on a Sunday is way too much, but anyway. I digress. All right, let me talk about one more thing, and this is what really prompted me to do this video. And I mentioned the guy earlier, and I'm going to talk about him again here in this part of the video. But I am so sick and tired of people bitching about how many legend figures they're putting out of certain characters. Like, you know what? Like with the Stone Cold reveal at Mattel Creations this past Thursday. You know, and, you know, in my toy video I did earlier in this month, I talked about, I'm like, well, if they're celebrating the 30th anniversary of the Stone Cold promo freaking from King of the Ring, shouldn't they make a figure commemorating that promo? And lo and behold, we get it. Maybe Mattel watched that video, I don't know. And lo and behold, we get, you know, a freaking Stone Cold Steve Austin King of the Ring figure. I guess it's a Mattel Creations exclusive. It also revealed like some Saturday night, I think a Saturday night main event wave, which is going to have Hulk Hogan and Hillbilly Jim. I can't think of the other 2 guys, but I know Hulk Hogan and Hillbilly Jim's in it. And heck, it's been a while since we've seen a Hillbilly Jim figure from Mattel, so it's nice to see a Hillbilly Jim figure from Mattel. But the last one came out was what, the early days of the Mattel figures? In 2010, like they had him in one of the Legend waves. They also showed off a few other things, but you know, the thing that irritates me, and I'll get to my damn toys in a minute, but people are bitching and moaning about, oh, we're getting too many stuff. Just like they bitch about the Hulk Hogan. Well, you know what? Let me ask you something. Would you be a wrestling fan right now if it hadn't been for Hulk Hogan in the 80s? No, you wouldn't. Would you be a wrestling fan right now if it wasn't for Stone Cold in the late 90s? Now, yes, The Rock became a big star too. Macho Man also became a big star during the Hulk Hogan era and all that. But the 2 most important wrestlers in WWE history should be allowed to get more figures. And without having to hear these stupid freaking IWC idiots who review these figures all the time bitch and whine about it. Because, I mean, come on now. I didn't hear anybody bitch and complain about all the John Cena figures we got last year. Except for, we can't find them in the store. And a lot of these people probably hated Cena during Cena's prime. But now they love Cena and now they want a bunch of Cena. Cena's retirement tour. Yeah. I knew we were going to get a lot of wrestling figures. Did you see me come out here bitch and whine about all the freaking Cena figures we got last year? No. There's even a couple of Cena figures I wanted to grab last year that I wasn't able to get. That freaking one that was, I think, the Comic-Con exclusive with all the belts, because I wanted to get the spinning version of the belt, the spinner belt, because Mattel never made the spinner version of the spinning belt when they first started. They didn't do that till Elite 100. And then, yeah, and then the other one in the 4-pack with Bruno and Roman and all this. You know who I'm getting sick and tired of seeing figures of, and I like these guys and all that? You don't think I got sick and tired of seeing Cena figures a lot last year? Yes, I did. But you know what? I didn't come on the internet and bitch and moan about it. Or go to the forums and bitch and moan about it. And I'm going to talk about the Nitro stage in a minute too. But you know what? You know what figures I'm sick and tired of seeing? Because there's so many other wrestlers that, you know, should be getting figures and they're not, because they give these guys to put them in almost every freaking line you can see. I'm sick and tired of seeing the Cena figures. I'm sick and tired, and like I said, I like a couple of these guys. I don't like Cena. But the next guy I'm talking about, I'm sick and tired of seeing Roman Reigns figures in almost every other freaking Elite wave. Whether it's a top picks, whether it's a regular Elite line, whatever it is, we see way too many freaking Roman Reigns. He's a freaking part-timer. And you still are making a lot of Roman Reigns figures. He's a part-timer now. Yes, during the Tribal Chief run, he was the best thing in wrestling. But now he's a part-timer and he don't do too much no more. But yeah, we still get a bunch of Roman Reigns figures. And everybody clamors for it, and they run out to the stores and they buy it because they want Roman Reigns and blah, 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 blah. You know who else I'm sick and tired of seeing? And I like this guy too. Seth Rollins figures. I'm sick and tired of almost every Elite, every Ultimate, every 2-pack, everything. Sick and tired of seeing Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins figures. I'm also getting sick and tired of seeing Jey Uso figures. This is the most we've seen Jey Uso figures. I know he won the main event and all that last year, and all that stuff, but come on now. God. You know, sick and tired of seeing so many Rey Mysterio. Unless it's a legendary Rey Mysterio figure, then I'm okay with. A classic Rey Mysterio from the 90s, when he was in WCW, even in his early Ruthless Aggression run. I'm sick and tired of seeing those figures. Sick and tired of seeing those guys in almost every line, when you got characters like Dominic Mysterio, Braun Breaker, Finn Balor, and all that stuff. You know, and with the women's division, you know, now they've gotten better with doing the women's division figures. But I'm sick and tired of seeing Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns and all that. But yeah, people still run out and buy them and get excited about those figures. Or another Brock Lesnar figure. Let's go get another Brock Lesnar figure, even though he's a part-timer. Boy. I don't think we got enough Braun Breakers out there in the world. I'm sick and tired of seeing Logan Paul figures too. It's great that he transitioned perfectly from being a YouTuber to being a wrestler. But I am sick and tired of seeing a bunch of Logan Paul figures. Oh my God. You know. Jey Uso, the Yeet. I think the Yeet is so stupid. Yeah, I'm sick and tired of seeing Cody Rhodes figures. I know he's the new top guy. But golly, I'm sick of seeing his figures. Oh, but yeah, we still get these figures almost every freaking wave. Oh, golly. Nobody bitches and whines about those. But oh, heaven forbid it be a Stone Cold and Hulk Hogan, the two most important names in wrestling history, to freaking make WWE what it is, and people bitch about them getting more figures than everybody else. Just ridiculous. You know, if it wasn't for Stone Cold in the Attitude Era, it wouldn't have got as big, and people wouldn't have got to see the Rock become as big as he became. It wasn't for Hulk Hogan, nobody would be a WWE fan right now. Oh my God. Oh, and it's the IWC people bitching and moaning about these figures. Like, come on now. I didn't hear y'all bitching about Cena mayhem last year. Oh, God. Lee. It gives me a headache hearing all these people. Oh, no, another stove. And then I want to talk about My Damn Toys. And he's talking about what the WrestleMania Superstore exclusive could be, his video yesterday. Which, no, I don't want that. Seen enough Cena figures from last year. But he said, well, maybe they could do the Cena, WrestleMania 42 figure this year as the exclusive. Yeah, they could make it. They could put it in one of the upcoming Elite lines that's coming out this year. But that does not have to be a Superstore exclusive. Now, I don't buy Superstore exclusive. That don't need to be this year's exclusive. I'd rather see something else as the exclusive, even though I wouldn't be able to buy it. But you know what? I'd rather see something else. Speaking of guys that don't get enough love in figure form, Shawn Michaels really don't. I feel like, there's been some Shawn Michaels figures out there, but not many. But, people complain about that, and then people still want more Cena figures. Got plenty of Cena last year. For all those Cena Johnson riders, y'all can freaking have your Cena year last year because he was retiring. So I respect that. But come on out. This year, and you're still bitching about more Cenas? No. 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 We haven't even seen any, didn't they just sign Jacqueline to a freaking deal last year? Then they signed everybody else to deals last year, like Tori Wilson and all that, and we still ain't got no new figures of them. No more Cena. Cena should be something that comes out once in a while now, because Cena's retired. And he don't need to have no more exclusive figures. Last year was celebrating his career, fine and dandy. 20 years he was the top guy. Now he's gone. Now we don't have to see Cena on our TV no more on WWE television. We don't have to hear about Cena no more, and I'm sick and tired of the freaking greatest of all time bullshit that they've tried to force with Cena. He's not the greatest of all time. It doesn't matter how many freaking championships you win. I've made a video about that before. It doesn't matter how many freaking championships you win. It's what you do with it and how much business was flourishing during it. And business was flourishing pretty well with Cena, but it wasn't at the level of a Stone Cold Steve Austin or a freaking Hulk Hogan. But yet people want to whine and bitch whenever they put out a new Hulk Hogan or Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's just so stupid. Just like with The Rock, when they put out The Rock. One for The Rock. WWE wouldn't be as big as it is. So sick of hearing people whine and cry. And then they want to get a Cena figure. Lord. Alright, this video, I've rambled. I had to get my crankiness out because I'm so sick of hearing all this nonsense every single freaking week. When people review these figures, I'm sick of AEW getting disrespected. Look, yes, AEW makes mistakes. And if you are critiquing them because you want them to get better, that's one thing. But if you're just critiquing them because you hate them because they're competition to WWE, then yeah. And the IWC is a lot of cause of that. Or they do wrestling figure reviews, or they do wrestling show reviews, or they do video game reviews, whatever. Lord. Alright, this video is what, close to 40 minutes. I had to rant, I'll be more chilled this freaking Wednesday when I do my video. I'll be more chilled tomorrow when I do my wrestling figure mania build. And I'll be more chilled Friday when I do a playthrough. Which, unfortunately, it's with Cena to unlock the spinner. Because you got to go through story mode on SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 with Cena to unlock the spinner belt. So I got to get that unlocked. I already got the World Heavyweight Championship unlocked. Yeah, it's just like with the freaking Nitro stage. Everybody whined about that because they didn't have the proper selection of figures. I thought the figure selection they had for that Nitro stage was a pretty decent one. Should they have thrown Goldberg in there or something? Yeah, they should have. But, You had Scott Steiner. That was going to be the first ever Big Papa Pump figure. You had Hulk Hogan. It was going to be the first figure with the newly tooled big gold belt, WCW version of the belt. Rey Mysterio's popular, and was popular back then. Diamond Dallas Page was one of the top WCW stars they made in the Attitude Era during the Monday Night Wars. Yeah, the Warrior one was the one I thought was the worst. But, yeah, anyway. That'll do it. Please like this video, leave a comment, subscribe for more, and go watch some kind of Chuck Norris movie. Go watch Sidekicks, you know. Maybe you'll get a new appreciation for that movie, because it's not as bad as people think it is. But that'll do it. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the Wrestle Figure Mania build. Then I'll see you guys Wednesday, where I'll be, since you know, I did the WWE titles last week. I'm going to do WWE's main competitions titles this week. Then the following week, I'll talk about, you know, people that Vince McMahon had planned for predecessors to Hulk Hogan in the 80s that didn't work out, why they didn't work out, and who they really should have thought of making a predecessor to Hulk Hogan at the time, and all that stuff. But yeah. And then next Wednesday starts Batman month. So, that'll do it. Catch you guys later, and I'm out of my mind. No.